Welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 42. Comrades and friends, first let us go to Chile. South American country Chile got liberated from Spanish imperialism in 1818. In 1830s, Chile had a stable authoritarian republic. Till 1970s, democracy, population and urbanization were all flourishing. Chilean economy depends on the export of copper. In 60s and 1970s, left and rightist forces alternatively came to the fore, progressed. Salvador Allende was the president of Chile from November 1970 until his murder on 11th September 1973 by his military general Augusto Pinochet. Allende was head of the Popular Unity government. Allende was a socialist and a Marxist. Behind Allende's murder were the hands of CIA, Central Intelligence of America. Pinochet's dictatorial rule continued for 16 years. During his tenure, more than 3,000 people died or were found missing. By the referendum in 1988, Pinochet's rule came to an end in 1990. Gabriel Boric recently was elected as the president of Chile on 19th December 2021 during the second round of polling. On 9th April, Christians celebrate the Easter festival. In Chile, along with the Easter, 50th anniversary of Pinochet taking over as dictator was remembered by the people. Recently, 2 police officers were killed. Following this, some MPs in the parliament brought a bill to give additional power to the police, including right to shoot down the protesting people. If this bill is passed, it will be against all the international human rights laws. Chile government is neither leftist nor rightist. It is centrist. Presently in Chilean politics, discussions are going on about whether Gabriel Boric, the president, will sign the bill or not. Second country we are going to see developments in Mexico. Lopez Obrador became the 65th president of Mexico on 1st December 2018. After 1988, the party of the president got majority in both the Senate and Chamber of Deputies, that is, both houses of the parliament. After Lopez Obrador took over power, tectonic changes took place in the Central American country of Mexico. For many decades, Mexico was subordinate to the interests of US government. Only the conservatives came to power one after other in succession in Mexico. Mexico's economy was completely open to United States. Lopez Obrador undertook fourth transformation of changing the economy in favor of the people. Obrador declared that health and education are not privileges, they are the rights of the people. He firmly said that his government will not follow the new economic policies. Obrador government has made much progress in defending power sovereignty, in eradicating corruption, etc. Obrador is conducting struggle against the drug cartels. There is connection between the drug cartels and heads of several neighboring countries and local officials. There are agreements between US government, US Drug Enforcement Administration and Mexico to prevent drug trafficking. However, drug cartels give huge election funds liberally to United States ruling classes. Many investigations have revealed this. US officials and rulers indirectly support drug cartels of Mexico. US conservative senator uh, Lindsey Graham said that Obrador is not acting properly against drug cartels. Fentanyl, drug tablets, are more powerful than heroin or marijuana. Consumption of fentanyl, that is drug tablets, is killing many American citizens. Obrador is taking steps to cut the connections between the drug cartels and local officials and politicians. Conservative US politicians say that US shall invade Mexico. They also say that drug traffickers should be pronounced as terrorists. Why US citizens become addicts to drug like fentanyl? What are the basic reasons? How the drugs are spreading all over United States? US government has not investigated about this. US says that China is exporting illegally fentanyl to Mexico, but China denies this. Third, we go to the important item. Alternative to US dollar is being evolved. Comrades, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are the members of the International Forum BRICS. 40% of the world population live in these countries. About 25% of world GDP is produced by BRICS countries. Iran and Saudi Arabia have started to attempt to join the BRICS. Similarly, more than 10 countries, including Egypt, Algeria, United Arab Emirates, Mexico, Argentina, Nigeria, are anxious about joining the BRICS forum. The BRICS summit will take place at Durban of South Africa in August 2023. This summit will take a decision to evolve the alternative currency to US dollar. As a first step, the BRICS countries has taken a decision to carry on bilateral trade in their own currencies. As a next step, digital or some other form of alternate currency will be worked out. Bobakov, deputy chairman of Russian Duma, Russian parliament, he said that the new currency will neither depend on dollar nor on euro. Value of new currency will be dependent on not only the value of the gold but also the value of rare earth minerals, etc. On 29th March, China and Brazil had announced to carry the bilateral trade in their own currencies. The largest trade partner of Brazil is China. Mutual trade will attain a level of 15,000 crore dollars. Russia and Iran signed an agreement to switch over to a different way of financial transactions away from US-led world financial institutions. Both of them cut their links with the SWIFT bank communication under US domination. After the war in Ukraine, many Russian banks changed from SWIFT system. Both US and European Union seized 30,000 crore dollars reserve fund of Russia. Russia and China are discussing about their bank links. If these discussions progress, US will remove Chinese banks from the SWIFT system. This is the threat of US. In 2023, Russia-China trade will reach a level of 20,000 crore dollars. Apart from the attempts of BRICS countries to evolve a new currency instead of dollar, they had started the New Development Bank in order to avoid IMF, World Bank under US domination. Egypt, United Arab Emirates and Bangladesh are also members of this New Development Bank along with the BRICS countries. What is SWIFT system? SWIFT means Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. That is briefly called as SWIFT Telecommunications. It was founded in 1973. 11,000 banks and financial institutions in more than 200 countries are under the SWIFT system. Average daily transactions are to the tune of 3.8 crore under SWIFT. Comrades and friends, we are going to see a convention taking place against inflation. What is inflation? When the prices of goods and services rise, inflation also rises. Due to the hike in inflation rates, purchasing power of the people gets reduced. Real wages go down. In all the capitalist countries, inflation is a burning immediate issue. On 5th April, in a virtual summit, that is video conference, in which leaders from 11 Latin American Caribbean countries took part. This summit was convened by López Obrador, President of Mexico. To face the inflation crisis in the region, the summit decided to form an alliance. Apart from López Obrador, President of Mexico, Argentina President Alberto Fernandez, Bolivia President Luis Arce, Brazil President Lula da Silva, Chile's President Gabriel Boric, Cuba's President Miguel Canal, President of Honduras Xiomara Castro, Vice President of Venezuela, and heads of Grenada and Colombia took part in the summit. The summit or the convention decided to find solutions to price rise of food articles and to shortage of them jointly. It also decided to strengthen regional unity and trade. The alliance of Latin American and Caribbean countries against inflation will ensure cheap food availability to the most vulnerable people in the region. A technical working group of representatives of each country of the alliance will be formed. This group will take measures to develop the regional solidarity and regional solidarity and cooperation. Agreements to develop the trade of chemical and organic fertilizers were signed. The alliance countries will make joint efforts to get international financial aid for the growth of agriculture, the infrastructure projects of agriculture, business, and goods transportation. 7th Summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, briefly called CELAC, was held at Buenos Aires of Argentina on 24th January 2023. Joint activities of the alliance countries will ensure food and nutrition security and to eradicate hunger as per the decision of this summit. The CELAC summit also decided to convene a meeting of industrial and organization of small farmers in Cancun of Mexico on May 6th and 7th. Comrades and friends, we are going to see regarding the change of chairman of World Bank and BRICS Bank. World Bank was founded in 1944. So far, World Bank had 13 chairmen. All of them are US citizens. The one exception is one was from Bulgaria. He was chairman for only 2 months. The European citizen is traditionally the chairman of IMF. US President Joe Biden nominated Ajay Banga as the new World Bank chairman. He will assume charge in the middle of April. World Bank head office is in Washington, D.C., the capital of US. Ajay Banga held responsibilities initially in Nestle MNC in India. Later on, he served MNCs like Citigroup's MasterCard, etc. Recently, he was the executive director of the International Chamber of Commerce, founded in 1919. Banga will take upon the agenda of privatization as his priority. The Board of Governors of the New Development Bank of government representatives from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and of one each from Bangladesh, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, have unanimously elected Dilma Rousseff, the former president of Brazil, as the chairman of the new development bank. Dilma Rousseff actively participated in the struggle for democracy during 21 years between 1964 and 1985 against the military dictatorship backed by United States. When Lula was the president of Brazil during the period 2003 to 2011, Dilma Rousseff was a cabinet minister. She took many steps to eradicate poverty. After 2011, after that period, presidents of Brazil, Michel Temer and Jair Bolsonaro, both are rightist presidents. They withdrew the progressive projects of Lula and Dilma Rousseff. Credit policy of IMF is to force the countries taking IMF loans to follow austerity measures. But the policy of the new development bank is to ensure poverty reduction. New Development Bank Board of Governors met on 28th March under the chairmanship of Dilma Rousseff. Comrades and friends, there are three more items we are going to see. One is the Cuban tour of United States youth. Last year, 100 youth from United States went to Havana of Cuba to take part in the May Day celebrations. This year also, more than 150 youth leaders of various US youth organizations will go to Havana to take part in the May Day celebrations. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Center of Havana is hosting US youth. Their visit will renew the historic bonds of relationship between the people of US and Cuba. The youth of US are opposing US sanctions on Cuba. The more and more youth of US are demanding that US government shall remove Cuba from the list of countries sponsoring terrorism. Another item is NATO. 31st member has joined NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO was founded in 1951 in the context of growing influence of Soviet Union and East European socialist countries. That time Cold War was going on between US and Soviet Union. USSR got disintegrated in early 1990s and Cold War came to an end. The world became a unitary world under US domination. Even then, NATO is yet to be dissolved. The counter to NATO, Warsaw, had already been dissolved. NATO countries invaded the former Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Iraq and Libya. Now Finland has joined NATO as the 31st member country. This causes threat to Russian security since Russia is having a border of 1,340 kilometers with Finland. Basic reason for the continuing Ukraine war is the attempt of US and its allies to include Ukraine as a NATO member. So now that 31st member which has joined NATO is Finland. Sweden also wants to join it. It has not yet joined. Finally, we are going to see regarding the impeachment motion in Peru. Left President Pedro Castillo of Peru is in preventive custody since 7th December 2022. The Vice President Dina Boluarte became the de facto president and she is repressing the people on protest since 7th December. About 50 to 70 people have been killed so far due to the repression by Dina Boluarte government. In this situation, on 4th April, the left parliament members of Peru brought an impeachment motion against Dina Boluarte. It is something like no confidence motion. The motion received the support of only 37 MPs, 64 opposed and 10 were absent. These are all the news this week we saw, comrade, under global weekly news serial number 42. See you next week. Lal Salam.